Alright, what's going on, guys? It is your boy TKD123 here, back here in PlayStation Source, and of course yesterday we did get a full new Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart gameplay trailer, and I'm here to break it all down for you guys. There's not a ton here to go over, but there's a lot of big things here that we do have to discuss involving the game and what I have found off of this trailer. So without further ado, links below in the description if you enjoyed this breakdown, and make sure to like the video if you enjoyed it, as well as hit subscribe to PlayStation Source to keep up with the latest and greatest in PlayStation, and of course our coverage over there on Road to Rift Apart, the dedicated podcast series to any and all things Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. But we open up here in some sort of celebration going on in Metropolis with some inflatable versions of Ratchet, Clank, and our boy Captain Quark, which we have not seen yet. We have not seen Captain Quark. I'm very curious to see why and know why, but you know, definitely in this shot we see plenty of Quark, of course, in Quark style. You know what I'm saying? Like, he definitely wants to put himself above Ratchet and Clank, even though he don't be doing a lot of the work. He even has the biggest floaty. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's very clear that, all right, Quark is still Quark in this game, but I am curious as to why we haven't seen him yet necessarily. But we're on this celebration platform, and then of course pops up the Dimensionator, which I don't know why it's on the ground. I don't know why it's being presented like a trophy or something like that, but it's very interesting. But then moments later, of course, Dr. Nefarious, or at least what we think is Dr. Nefarious, more on that later on in the video, does snatch up and say exactly what we know already from what Insomniac Games told us, that is the main arc and the main plan that he has, which is to use the Dimensionator to go into another dimension where he always wins. Next up, of course, we see a bunch of rift shards that open up, and we are brought to what we now know is Nefarious City, essentially a version of Metropolis that has been taken over by Nefarious after he has won in that specific dimension. And so we see here that it's very dark, very gritty, and I actually like the way they designed this version of the city, because I feel like it would be exactly what you would imagine it'd be if Nefarious did take over the galaxy and did win on all those adventures against Ratchet and Clank. So it seems like they did a really good job at designing it here. But here is where we also see this new revelation where Ratchet actually ends up in Nefarious City, where Clank also ended up. So I don't know how Ratchet, you know, end up, maybe he jumped into the rift at the last second and we just didn't see, and he got, you know, put into a different area in the city. But he is in the city where Clank was when they got separated on the pirate dimension. But Ratchet does pick up this interesting flyer here with Rivet's face on it, and yes, my boys, I did try to translate it. I thought it was Lombak's language because there's a full translation online. It's not Lombak's language. I don't know what this language is, but it's obviously here a like most wanted type of flyer for Rivet, which of course this reminds me of the video that I did a few, you know, months back, where we were discussing the inspiration of Rivet seemingly being Rosie the Riveter, and you know, this World War II effort to try and get women to help the war and help the war effort overall by being in manufacturing factories and just doing their part as well. So it seems like, you know, Rivet is leading seemingly this war effort against Nefarious, or this underground kind of cell to try and rid Nefarious of any power. So it seems like this is what this flyer is looking for. I just think it's a really cool like design and really cool mirroring and reflection of the Rosie the Riveter flyer. Not one for one, but just a similar vibe overall. So I really like that as well. But we do get a continuation of the end of the announcement trailer, where of course we hear you know, Rivet ask Clank who, but in this trailer seemingly we get Clank's exact reply, which is "Who are you?" question mark. And then of course, ladies and gentlemen, I did reference this video already, but I gotta say it out loud. This is where we see Rivet finally say her name, and yes, I did guess her name correctly with my evidence, with my investigations. I was able to discern her name months back on this video, so definitely go check out this video after you're done, because you know, because it's a very cool you know, way I got to this end point. And it wasn't just me, you know, I did some research online, saw some people on Reddit threads, and I just think that it made the most sense. So shout out to me. You know what I'm saying? I don't like to self-boast that much, but hey, I did guess the female Lombax's name correctly in that video. There's the proof. Check it out later on after this video. But on more pressing matters, of course, we also see here that Clank is missing an arm, and so there is going to be a little bit more on that in the end of this trailer. But it is very interesting to see that Clank is really missing an arm, so I'm not sure what the deal is with that. I hope that the homie gets his arm back soon, but he definitely does not have his arm. And so we do next up here see Rivet has an exact matching socket on her back to perfectly attach Clank, or specifically his type of robot. So I find this very intriguing because of course we are dealing with other dimensions and dimensions that are alternate from our own. So could this mean that Rivet has her own robot as well? Is this her main motivation? Is this her trying to find her robot in this galaxy, in this dimension? Could Rivet's robot have been taken by Nefarious? We will have to see when the full game comes out, but I'm very curious because I feel like not everyone just randomly has a magnet that's going to be able to attach a robot to on their back. I feel like that's not a normal occurrence here in the world. Maybe it is, maybe I'm thinking too deep into it, but I feel like there's more to this than meets the eye. But next up here, we do see some new gameplay mechanics from Rivet. She's able to wall run now. That is cool as hell. She's able to wall run and then do a swing shot and then pull a rift to her to go to the next rift onto the platform in the distance. And so I was reacting to this very, very funnily on stream. I just thought it was a very cool moment, you know what I'm saying? Dude, do you know how satisfying that is gonna be right there to swing, right? You swing in, you jump, and then you pull the rift, and you go through the rift. Bro, game of the fucking year. Game of the year. Now, next up here, we do see some quick flashes from previous locations in the game's franchise. So first up here in this greenery looking type of planet, we do see the planet of Sargasso, which is from Tools of Destruction. And then next up here, after this random planet that we have here, is actually Tauren 4. So we have Tauren 4 coming back from A Crack in Time. Very cool to see it now kind of blown up and more just vibrant and more alive in this game as well. So really cool to see that we are coming back to iconic locations from previous Ratchet and Clank games. But we do see in between these some random planet that looks kind of like those mini space planets throughout the series, where you would get level up, or you would get nanotech, etc. So it looks like we will be visiting those as well, and then maybe some really cool stuff here. And what's interesting is that on this actual planet, there seems to be like the little robots that Clank would control that are up there, or the like robot dog type of robots. I'm not sure what's going on here, but I am interested to see in the full game what is up with this planet, and so we will definitely see that in the full game. But going on from that, this is where we get some big stuff here. This is where we get some wild stuff here. I was talking to people on Twitter, but this is actually what is going on here. So a lot of people are thinking that this scene is just showing off the power of the SSD, and yes, it is. Okay, it is loading a new environment into this whole frame, but you gotta look a little bit more closer to what's going on here, guys. What we see here is that before Rivet hits the shard, okay, this seemingly like rift shard, I'm gonna call it a rift shard, right? The whole environment is kind of torn apart. It's in the galaxy, it's like exploded. Like we see the tanker in the middle, we see a railing track as well. But once Rivet hits this rift shard and seemingly disables it, it reverts back to a fully sustainable normal factory. And so what we see here is that she is using these rift shards and hitting these rift shards to break the dimension hold from this location, returning it back to its normal dimension that it originally originated from. This is so intriguing to me, guys. Like this is not a brand new environment. Look at the actual environment. Look at the clues. We see the railing on the left-hand side, and we see the big tanker in the middle. They are destroyed when we first go into this scene before Rivet hits this shard. Then afterwards, it is all fully fixed once she hits the shard. I think we're going to be dealing with a lot of this in this game. I think this is very, very cool, and this is something that I think this game has just told us and just communicated with us, is that there are these rift shards that are affecting the dimension that they are in, that this location's in, and what other locations will be in throughout the game based off this one shard alone. So this is a very, very cool thing to see. I love how they just snuck this in. I think this is great. And so next up here, we see Emperor Nefarious's new helper, which now I'm thinking, okay, could that be Rivet's robot? Could Emperor Nefarious really have taken Rivet's robot to be his assistant now in this dimension, leaving Rivet with no robot. I'm just curious, guys. I'm not sure if that's true. I'm just, spitting out, some theories and everything. I think that's very interesting there. But what she says is that Emperor Nefarious has returned. So it seems like Emperor Nefarious has gone somewhere, maybe to get the Dimensionator, and then came back and, done all that good stuff. Now, it doesn't really make sense because I feel like you would need the Dimensionator to go to another dimension unless there's a new type of Dimensionator that maybe he made in his universe that broke or something like that. So he had to go and get, another Dimensionator from another dimension that he ended up in. I don't know, guys. I'm just spitballing, but that's essentially what it is here. But when we look closely at Emperor Nefarious here, okay, we see that he has a little bit of a different design aesthetic, and this is the same Nefarious from the intro of the trailer as well, so it's the same one, right? But you gotta really look into the nitty-gritty here, guys. Dr. Nefarious has a crack on his skull and through his eye, of course, from a crack in time when Ratchet threw a grenade at him and there was a crack that ended up injuring him, okay? Now, this Nefarious does not have a crack. This has to tell me that I don't think that inside I just made the random decision to fix Nefarious's face. No, boys. No, boys. I don't think that we have seen our Dr. Nefarious yet. I don't know what's he doing. I don't know what he's planning, but he is out there somewhere, still in the galaxy, yet to be seen in Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I think they're going to save that for a big boss thing in the end. I think it's going down. I think that, yes, Emperor Nefarious does seem capable, and he does seem scary, but Dr. Nefarious may turn out to be more capable and more scary in Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. That's what I'm saying here, guys. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But in Emperor Nefarious' office, we do see him looking at this security tape that seems to be indicating when Rivet and Clank first meet, and we do see kind of Clank, injured on the ground and everything. So this could be what we're looking at here, and it's very interesting because it's like, why would Emperor Nefarious want to be looking at this footage? Like, is this a part of his whole plan? Does he want Clank to meet Rivet? Like, is this part of his whole scheme? I'm very curious to see how that all ends up, but we do see Ratchet here in the same room looking in very much, concerned, looking at Clank. He's injured. He's with his alarm backs. He's very, very scared, right? And then we have this funny moment between Ratchet and Emperor Nefarious, but that needs no breaking down, just a funny moments. But next up here, we get another good look at Torrent 4 in the game as well. Very, very beautiful looking landscape. But then next up here, which is really, really cool as well, we see Rivet and Clank enter a mechanic workshop. So I'm thinking now, could this be a way of them imitating how Ratchet and Clank first met in the first game, where Clank was injured and then Ratchet went to his mechanic shop and brought him back online, I guess you could say, not really to life, but well, no, I guess life, I don't know, whatever. Y'all know what I'm saying, right? Like, Ratchet fixed Clank, and so it seems like Rivet is fixing Clank here as well. And so it could be right here where he gets his arm and there's no big deal about his arm being mistakenly lost or not there anymore, but I'm not sure about that because there's other shots where they're out in other parts of the galaxy where Ratchet still doesn't have his arm. We'll follow that. I'm gonna keep an eye on his arm because I feel like they might do something crazy with his arm. But it is really cool if they are trying to align the way Ratchet and Clank first met with how Rivet and Clank are first meeting as well. We then see Ratchet do this amazing ass flip. I just had to point out, it looked dope as hell. Ratchet is on the run trying to rescue Clank again. Let's go. Very, very excited about that. Next up here, we see this battle happen in Torrent 4, and it seems like these are the pirate ships. Like, you can see the sails and you can see some of like the rowers as well on the side. So it seems like maybe Ratchet was able to convince the pirate dimension to assist him on Torrent V or go to Torrent V, or maybe this is just completely unrelated and maybe the pirates are just beefing with the inhabitants over on Torrent V and they're going for supplies. That could also be the case, but it is just pretty interesting that Ratchet did end up in a pirate dimension and now we see them here on Torrent 4. Maybe they could be connected, maybe they could not be, who knows, but very interested to see that as well. And then Clank says if we don't get the Dimensionator, they could lose every dimension. It's clear that Emperor Nefarious wants complete control of the galaxy in the form of making all of the locations a part of a dimension where Nefarious wins. And so that is pretty much the full, context, really the full motivation behind Emperor Nefarious and all that great stuff. And also, I can already tell this giant ass robot will surely cause problems for Rivet and Clank, and maybe Ratchet too, I don't know, but this big giant robot definitely wants the smoke and wants all of it. But next up here, we see Ratchet back on his new hoverboard, looking at this beautiful environment with cherry blossoms, very vibrant. I hope we spend a lot of time here in the game, because this environment looks great. It looks fantastic. Cannot wait to see how this looks in the full game, of course. But then we see this other major thing here where Rivet is seemingly able to duplicate herself. Guys, I was blown back by this. Okay, what are they gonna do here with this mechanic? Is it really her duplicating herself? Like, can she control and order her other duplicates to do stuff in a given level, or is it just some way to just throw off the enemy and like make them aim at one of the clones of her or something? Like, I have so many questions, but this looks dope. I hope it's a real mechanic where Rivet's able to duplicate herself. Like, wouldn't it be really cool? Okay, this is a wild thing. I almost didn't say this in the video, but I'm gonna say it. Why not? Okay, I'm just going crazy right now. What if Rivet, right, is able to duplicate herself? And you know how I was talking about how Rivet is one of the inspirations, or I mean one of the inspirations of Rivet is Rosie the Riveter doing the war effort, right, against World War II, right? What if Rivet is able to assemble her own army of clones of herself, right? Like, that's her main thing. I don't know. That sounds a little bit too much, because maybe in her galaxy, she's still the only Lombax, but she's not only one Lombax. She can duplicate herself to make herself an entire army. That's what I'm thinking, guys. Again, that sounds wild, but I have guessed other things that were wild, like on Metal Gear Solid, when I guessed correctly that Liquid Snake was taking over Ocelot's body via his arm. I guessed that correctly without even playing the game, so maybe this could be right. I don't know, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, how you feel about that. Next up here, we see Rivet back on Sargasso riding an animal. Then we see Ratchet without Clank, and then Ratchet with Clank. So it does beg the question, are they going to keep Ratchet and Clank separate for the majority of the game? Are they going to, just have them reunite very early in the game? And I'm very curious about this, kind of worried, because I'm gonna keep it honest, I kind of hope Ratchet and Clank reunite early on in the game. I don't want them to be separated like in a crack in time for the entirety of the game. I would like to, still play as Ratchet and Clank and really have that dynamic, have that banter, and have that love, because you know what I'm saying, like come on, like, we need Ratchet and Clank together. Hopefully they are together for the majority of the game and not the opposites of that. But lastly here, we see Rivet nail this big enemy with this crazy, incredible like jump and hit, and overall that is the end of the trailer. This trailer is great. We have a lot to think about here. We have a lot to discuss. Things like these rift shards being in the galaxy and how they are making environments go to different dimensions. We have Rivet's duplicating ability seemingly. We have this whole conspiracy around Emperor Nefarious not being Dr. Nefarious. Where is Dr. Nefarious? Where is Quark? There's so many questions, but we will answer it, guys, in due time when the game comes out. Hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Was I wrong? Did I miss something? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And make sure also, while you are down there, you can check out our description where you can find links to our Discord, our Twitter, and our Anchor link. That way you can listen to our long form content and podcast format. Those, of course, being the Road 2 series, where Road to Rift Apart is going strong. Definitely, if you're a fan of Ratchet and Clank and you're hyped for Rift Apart, definitely check out that podcast series. Me and Taj have been killing it the past few weeks, and we are back at it again this week on Friday with our whole impressions of this trailer and the breakdown of the state of play, which we will be streaming here, by the way. We will be streaming on the channel, that state of play as well. Very excited to see that, and you can get the full review and recap and impressions up on Road to Rift Apart on Friday. Make sure also, while you're down there, to like the video if you enjoyed it, as well as hit subscribe to PlayStation Source to keep up with the latest and greatest in PlayStation. Thank you all for watching, and as always, greatness awaits.